So just to welcome our next speaker, we have Director of Sport Ireland Coaching, Michael McGeehin, who's going to speak to you now. Thanks.
Left one. Okay, good morning, everyone. It's great to see so many familiar faces in the audience here today. We've got, I see representatives here from national governing bodies of sport. We've got LSPs, local sports partnerships represented. Sport Ireland is represented, Sport Ireland Coaching. And we've got obviously the partners from the various institutions involved in the BeFore project. And it's great from my own point of view. This is my first conference in person in 2 years. I struggled to put the tie on today because it's definitely the first time in 2 years that I attempted to put one on. Colin promised me that he was going to wear one as well. So that's what I wore one. So it's all your fault. Today I'm going to take the opportunity to talk a little bit about Sport Ireland coaching and what we do and who we are. I want to talk a little bit then around the whole area of bullying in sport, the work that Sport Ireland does around safeguarding and what Sport Ireland coaching does in the space with the various programs and resources that we've developed. And then finally I want to talk just a little bit about the project itself and what we from a Sport Ireland coaching point of view hope to work in partnership with the project team and what we hope to deliver out of that with the NGBs around Ireland. So a little bit about ourselves. I suppose we weren't always known as as Sport Ireland Coaching. We were established in '92 as the National Coaching and Training Centre, or NCTC for short, and we're based down on the campus of UL. So at the time we were set up, we had a remit to develop coaches and coaching on the island of Ireland, and we also had the remit for the non-financial end of the carding scheme. So that was, we offered services to carded athletes from a rehab, prehab point of view, from a fitness testing, blood testing, access to sports psychology, sports nutrition, taking bloods and whatnot. So you might say, well, you know, did any coaching take place in Ireland before 1992? And it certainly did. There was a lot of good work in coaching, but I suppose with the establishment of the NCTC, it formalised coach education to a certain extent. So we developed the Coach Development Programme for Ireland, which laid out and signposted for the various governing bodies of sport what we expected of them in the development of coaching, and then what they could expect of us. So we spoke about things in it around course development, around tutor training. These are the people that coach the coaches. And then we spoke around quality assurance, what's wrapped around the delivery of the coaching courses. And then last but not least, the certification piece. So that was 92. Then around 2008, we decided that, I think it's time for a name change, because there were probably two reasons for that. The first one being that in 2008, the Sports Institute, the Irish Sports Institute of Sport, was set up on the campus in Abbottstown. And the function that we had, which was the non-financial end of the carding scheme, that responsibility moved to the Institute of Sport. So our sole focus then was on the development of coaches and coaching on the island. Around the same time as well, in 2008, the government introduced the national car test, and there were a lot of national car test centres being set up around the country, which again was NCTC for short. And myself and Declan and a few other members of NCTC at the time were being asked onto various coaching panels around the country, and invariably they would have an independent MC there. And a few times we were introduced as representing the National Counter-Terrorism Centre. So I suppose a lot of the NGBs that we work with might have felt that we treated them like terrorists at times in trying to get their quality assurance right, but we decided it was time for a name change. So we changed the Coach in Ireland, so we do exactly what we said on the tin. So that was 2008, which also coincided with our development and launch of the first national coaching strategy. Then around 2012, 2013, there was a new Sport Ireland Act, which dissolved the Irish Sports Council, and we were given a once-off opportunity in Coaching Ireland to become part or be integrated into Sport Ireland. So we took that opportunity, and in effect we become the coaching arm of Sport Ireland. So we're their reference point in all matters related to coaching. So that's a little bit about our evolution, and then a little bit about what we do. So everything we do is underpinned by currently a number of documents. We've got the action plan from the department that sets out at least 30 actions in a number of areas to do with the development of sport. There are a few specific actions in that related to Sport Ireland coaching, one of which was the development of a Sport Ireland coaching plan. We're also then guided by the Sport Ireland strategy. That ends this year, 2022, and just in the last week or two, we've started the process of developing our new strategy. We also have the CDPI, which I've already mentioned, which signposts responsibilities for NGBs and ourselves. And then we've got our coaching plan. And the building that's in the centre of the photograph there, that's the PES building in Limerick, for those that are familiar. In my time, it was called the Thomond College, and that's where I went to college and did PE. We've been there since 1992, and that was up until the 1st of January of this year, when, because of space issues within the PES department, we've been asked to move out. So we're currently office-less, so we're still working from home, even though restrictions have been lifted. But we found a new office space on the campus of UL, which we hope to move into at the end of April or the start of May. So we look forward to welcoming a lot of people in the audience here who represent the various NGBs. So our vision is that good coaching makes the difference. Not good coaching makes a difference, but good coaching makes the difference. Because we feel that a good coach, good coaching, that's the difference between someone getting a good introduction to a sport, whether they be a child or an older person, and that with that good introduction, they get a lifelong love for that sport. Whereas the opposite happens as well. With bad coaching, we turn someone off. They don't want to go back to the sport. They don't want to get involved again. So our mission is to have a trained and qualified coach for every participant, player or athlete, relevant and accessible education, training, qualifications and support for every coach, which is where I see the outcome of this particular project fitting in. And then common national standards for coaching, education, training and awards. Back in 2019, we became recognised by the QQI, the Quality Qualifications of Ireland, as a service provider. So that means that we're allowed to put qualifications onto the National Qualifications Framework. Just 2 months ago, we got official word that our first course, which is our Coach Developer course, now the Coach Developer course has replaced the tutor training that we have. We've just been told that has been recognised on the National Qualifications Framework at level 7, which is degree level, and 45 credits. So this isn't common knowledge as yet. We haven't publicised it, so I'm just letting you know, giving you a heads up, and we'll be publicising this in the next week or two. So we expect a lot of interest from the various governing bodies of sport that we work with, who have current coach developers, but also have tutors who have qualified through us in the past. Our goals are to lead in the development of a sports coaching system, raise the standard of and recognition of coaches and coaching, support the development and delivery of more training and learning opportunities for all coaches and to make these more relevant and accessible, implement appropriate and accessible supports for new as well as experienced coaches. And again, with goals 3 and 4, I see this project fitting nicely into those. And we want to be a leader in the delivery of education and training in the sports coaching sector. So just a little bit about bullying. Bullying, wherever it is, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's at school, at home, on the sports field, online, it's not acceptable. And particularly bullying in sport, which is what we're talking about, it's definitely not acceptable. But all of us, have a part to play. We know that children with a disability from an ethnic minority or from the LGBTQIA+ community are more vulnerable to abuse and more likely to be targeted. So all of us has a part to play. So whether that's you being in a club, being a club official, whether you're a participant, a coach, a volunteer, or an official, whether you're a child or whether you're a parent or a guardian, everybody has a part to play. I was asked last week to chair a meeting, an underage forum, actually, to do with fixtures in Donegal. And it was to do with underage fixtures from under 9 to under 17. We had about 30 clubs present, face-to-face, in the room. And we gave the meeting 2 hours. So we reckoned it would take 2 hours to agree on the format for the competition ahead. So lo and behold, it only took an hour to sort out the fixtures, and the next hour was spent talking about referees. And it wasn't solely to do with lack of referees. It was, what are we doing to protect referees? And I know Maggie Farley's down here, and it's great to see you, Maggie. And we're talking about the referees and the abuse that they were getting. So this was coming from the floor. What are we doing about it? And there was a lot of good discussion around some initiatives that some of the clubs were taking, like silent sidelines and whatnot. But then they asked me as chairman, had I any views on it? So I just asked them, which clubs here have policies in place to do with codes of conduct? For example, codes of conduct or behaviour for their parents, for coaches, for administrators within the club. And 100% of them put their hand up and said, yes, we've got those in place. So even though the policies were in place, they didn't have the appetite to enforce those particular policies. So they knew what the problem was. They had the solution in their hand, but there wasn't a general willingness to address the issue of bullying. So a lot of great work is going on with NGBs, and I see Garage down here who's done great work within the GAA in the whole area of anti-bullying. And we have an expectation from a Sport Ireland point of view, which I'll go into in a moment, that every organisation has a policy in place, which they do have. So we expect coaches to lead by example, promote an inclusive culture, welcome diversity, challenge bullying, and report it to the children's officer if there's one in place. For the children, it's very important that they're listened to and receive support when bullying occurs. And for parents and guardians, that they know and play their role in addressing bullying and are supported then when it occurs. And that's both for the victim and for the bully. So what are we doing in this space? So Sport Ireland, for example, offer guidance and bullying to the sports sector. And this is led out by Sport Ireland Ethics, by the Ethics Department within Sport Ireland. And this effectively is a template for an anti-bullying policy. And as I say, many Irish sports organisations, from the very large organisations down to the very small, and we deal with over 60 governing bodies of sport, they've taken the template and tailored it as necessary to suit their particular sport. So Sport Ireland expects that all sports organisations have an anti-bullying policy in place, and this is part of the assessment which all organisations are required to conduct to meet their obligations under the legislation, Children First, which guides us all in this particular area. So what are we doing from a Sport Ireland coaching point of view? Well, we've developed a number of education workshops and also resources in the area that are very much child-centred and around the development of a safe environment. And I know a number of the speakers today are going to talk about that safe sporting environment and how important that is. We deliver those particular programmes and resources either by ourselves, in person or online, through the local sports partnerships, through the national governing bodies of sport, and then through the third level colleges. So what are we doing in the coaching children and youth area? In 2020 and 2021, we developed the Coaching Teenage Girls Workshop. So this was a collaboration between ourselves, the Federation of Irish Sport, the Life's Too Good Foundation, who are based in the west of Ireland, in Galway, the Women in Sport programme, and then led out, I suppose, and developed by DCU with Anya McNamara and her team, who developed the resource and delivered the training for the coach developers in that particular workshop. Those of you that are involved within Camogie will know that before Christmas, Camogie have taken the Coaching Teenage Girls workshop and resources and tailored them to their own particular needs, and developed or rolled out 28 workshops between November and December. And again, it's also been rolled out to the LSP network. We've partnered with Jigsaw to develop the online resource of One Good Coach. And 2 years ago with IRFU and Swim Ireland, we piloted that particular course, which is helping coaches have a greater understanding of mental health. And it was evaluated by UCD, by Dr. James Matthews out there. So moving on from that, Horse Sport Ireland have taken it and adapted it for their sport. The JA have it in place, IRFU have it in place, and other NGBs are coming on board. So this is the first step in our partnership with Jigsaw in the whole area of mental health. We hope to, with IRFU, develop a course that's aimed more at the professional player as well, and some of the issues that they have regarding mental health and the pressures that are on them. We work with the Sport Ireland Ethics and NGBs in Behaviours and Attitudes Survey. And with Athlone IT and Dundalk IT, they've taken our Coaching Children resource. We signed an MOU with them, and they deliver that programme as part of their postgraduate courses in sport. We also had collaborations, and Vicky Guy is here from Sport Ireland Coaching. She's worked very closely with the Women in Sport in the development of the Women in Coaching Toolkit. And we've also worked with the Youth Leader Awards and UL in their MSc and Applied Sports Coaching. In the whole area of disability, Declan O'Leary here from Sport Ireland Coaching leads out from a Sport Ireland point of view on the policy on participation in sport by people with disability and the development of the various e-learning resources that we have around that. And then finally, we're very proud of the relationship that we have with the Erasmus Plus programme. And it's great to see the European partners here today. And I suppose it's great to see Louis. Louis is an old friend of ours who represents NC, but he's also a partner with us on a number of projects that we're involved in. And I know the quality of work that Louis produces, so it's good to see you. So the main 4 projects that we're involved with at the moment, it's a little bit small there, but the first one is I Coach Kids, which is in its second iteration at the moment. So originally we got funding for I Coach Kids, which was looking at 6 to 10 or 11-year-olds. We produced a number of MOOCs online, which are free, and any of you that are interested, you can get it on icoachkids.eu.org. We then were successful in getting a second tranche of funding for the I Coach Kids project, which is currently up and running and will be finished by the end of this year. And in that, we're looking at an older age group, but we're also looking at talent academies and what happens as regards best practice around Europe. And we've just been told in the last week that another application that we've made for I Coach Girls has been successful. And again, that'll be publicised in the next week or two. With the ECDA, that's the European Coach Developer Academy, we're involved with Paralympics Europe in the development of a hybrid education for coach developers. We haven't met face-to-face yet. We have a number of meetings online, but we hope to pilot online in September and then in face later on in September in Poland, the first pilot of the European Developer Course. With Louis and a lot of other partners, we're involved in the PEAK project, which is almost close to the conclusion of it with the report that we're going to do. But we've looked at various issues around coaching and best practice in Europe, and we're making recommendations in areas such as women in sport, in the area of coaching disability, and how we deal with refugees, migrant workers coming into various European countries. And finally, the Blueprint project is a partnership we had with Europe Active, where we looked at taking a qualification from the fitness industry and one from the coaching industry, and to see if we could align them directly onto the national qualifications framework. So Sport Ireland coaching, because of our involvement in Europe, we've also been involved with a number of expert groups. And again, Louis has sat on those. But in 2020, we were part of a small working group that produced a white paper on guidelines regarding the minimum requirements in skills and competencies for coaches. And I suppose this is just to highlight, how we can influence policy at European level by being involved in these European expert groups, but also we're accessing what's best practice across Europe, and we can filter it back into the Irish sports system. So we're saying that all coaches require much more than basic knowledge about the techniques and tactics of a particular sport to be effective. Okay, there's a lot of soft skills that they need as well. So we've made the recommendation that you need sports delivery, you need safeguarding, welfare and integrity, and also you need to develop and manage positive ethical and developmental relationships. So with sports delivery, you'd say, well, yeah, that's common sense. That has to be part and parcel of a coaching course. Safeguarding and welfare and integrity, we're talking about developing a safe environment for physical activity and sports. Dignity, rights, safety and the well-being of all participants is key. First aid knowledge, safeguarding knowledge and protection of minors and vulnerable adults. Special needs awareness, educating, protecting, detecting and acting against threats to the integrity of the sport, particularly fair play, anti-doping and match fixing. So that's a lot more than you're going to learn on most coaching courses, and there has to be additional education for the coaches to give them the confidence to actually tackle some of the issues that we're highlighting. On the last point then, the creation of positive working relationships and motivation through leadership, communication, conflict management, cultural awareness, sensitivity and openness to diversity, principles of inclusion, understanding the personal background of their participants and the willingness to listen. And Zach mentioned refugees coming into various countries, and it's becoming, it's increasing obviously with what's happening at the moment. But one of the key pieces of the research that we took out in this work, in the development of the white paper, was exactly the challenges for coaches in countries that had an influx of either refugees or migrants into the country. So there's the cultural differences, obviously language, religion and whatnot, and how the coaches are trained up and armed to deal with that. So the BeFore project itself, already Colin has outlined the key outcomes of it, but from our point of view, we're really looking forward to the development of the resources from the particular project. And the programme will provide innovative and continuous support to both coaches and sports organisations to tackle bullying issues and improve socialisation and reduce marginalisation. So we certainly in Sport Ireland Coaching look forward to assisting the project team in disseminating the programme to the various NGBs and LSPs on the conclusion of the project, because embracing the education and skills of coaches in this area will further develop the confidence of the coach, and that's the big piece of feedback that comes back to us, is coaches not having the confidence to deal with particular issues. The confidence of the coach in building a safe environment, ensuring that children get a good introduction to and foster a lifelong love of their sport. So I suppose the key message that I want to maybe have you take away from here is that let's play our part, okay? Whether we're an NGB and we've got a position of responsibility in the NGB, whether we're a club and we're a club official or we're a coach on the ground, let's play our part. Let's address the issue. Let's meet it head on, and let's erase bullying from sport. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed the rest of the speakers. I'm certainly looking forward to them, and I'd like to thank Colin for the opportunity to speak today. Thank you.